Hello, I'm Freya Fausta. Today we're going to work on household activities. So one of the things that people do where they might hurt themselves, where they often hurt themselves, is getting in and out of bed. So this is not a bed, but it's medium height. Some people have their bed on the floor, some people have their bed a little higher, but the principle doesn't change. It's still a surface that we have to get onto and we have to get out of. Now, many people get down on this object by tipping forward and moving their hands back and getting in symmetrically. It's not bad, right? But it's still quite uncomfortable. Some people even point their toes outward as they get up, and this, of course, becomes a risk for the knees, right? You have your center of gravity far back, you need a lot of pressure on your hands, and you need to toss yourself forward. But that's it's admirably difficult, but it's unnecessary to make things so difficult. So here we are, we're approaching our bed. We have the full use of the apparatus of the eyes in order to appraise the distance, right, and the depth of the bed. And I'm going to reach forward, first of all taking a step, right? Taking that step allows for me to engage in an asymmetrical fashion so that there's a notion of going somewhere, that I've created this structure that can go somewhere. And then one hand, using my hip structure to flex and lower my back so that the secondary support system of my hands can start to provide a notion of where this is, but also to help me get down. And then there's the turn. Turning allows me to sit first on one side and then to roll to the middle or to continue, right? And here I have the option now of using the same entry that I did when I sat down to lie down, right? So, which is not the case when I do this. Here I have a stop point. Station, okay, and now I have to decide how I get down. But in this walking version, or this, let's say, asymmetrical approach, I now have the option of how I'd like to use this ramping trajectory to get onto the bed. And we can reverse that now. So a lot of people get up from the bed like this, right? You might notice, right? They use their abdominal muscles and they sit up like Dracula, right? And then they decide. So this is the same kind of idea as this. It's linear and then stop point and linear trajectory, right? Or a lot of people do this, right? They stick out their legs and they go back like this. Well, you might be strengthening abdominal muscles when you do that, but let's say and that's okay, but it's a little less practical for your objective than sweeping across the transverse plane, getting your hands in position to help you up, and continuing to turn as you get out of bed. And this might seem virtuosic, right, because it's so smooth, but in fact it's really simple. And it's a practical application of something you do every day, which is taking steps, right? When you take steps, you don't jump like a kangaroo. You shift your weight to one foot and you reach with the other one. So you can do the same thing with your hand. And you sit down. And this is the other way, of course. If you like to lie on your left side, right? Some people like to lie on their left side, then you can have this approach. And when you get up, you already have your hands here to help you. And sit. And turn. Right? This turn is really useful because turning generates centrifugal force. Centrifugal force cuts through the gravitational field somewhat so that actually you lose weight. It's like an instant diet. So when I do this, I'm actually, my apparent weight is less. You can try that on a scale. You have a weight that's sliding on an object that's posed on a weight, right? And this, when it's sliding, it will appear to weigh less. That has to do with the direction of momentum, right? So when we direct our momentum onto the transverse plane, then we actually weigh less. So that it means our muscles have to work less, right? Okay, so there is a value to having strong muscles, yes? And I think we can all agree on that. But the thing about strength is that it's really only useful when it's generalized. Because if we only make one set of muscles strong, or if we only make a single muscle strong, for example, the rectus abdominis that we all love, we like this six-pack right here, that's very sexy. But if it's not integrated with what we're planning to do, then it's actually useless, and it becomes dangerous when a single muscle is developed and other muscles aren't. So what I'm doing here by making these turns and using my hands for support as well as my legs, is to integrate upper and lower body in the act of getting up. So now I'm using not only this muscle, but I'm using this muscle, I'm using this muscle, I'm using these muscles, using this muscle, using that muscle, using the muscles of my spine to sustain myself. And there I've had a generalized workout, right? And I've just gotten out of bed and my whole body's begun to be engaged. So getting out of bed can be a stimulating act. Getting into bed also. So why don't we talk about sitting in a chair? Sitting in a chair is also one of those things. Here's your generic chair. This is the kind of chair I actually like because it doesn't have armrests. I think armrests are like prison. I would rather have a chair that's not informed. Right? A chair that I can decide how I want to sit on. A chair that doesn't have sloping and doesn't have body form, doesn't push me into a certain shape. It's a chair that actually allows me to work. Right? So I think that this is a good representative chair. It has a little padding, not bad. All right, same thing. Now instead of approaching the chair like this, where I can't see it, right? Or this, where I start to curve my back and I lose some of the support value of my lumbar. Right? You can see maybe from the side, so I'm going to do this. Right? And as I flex my lumbar, those joints come apart, pressure on the discs, we have some posterior shear that's going on, right? And all that force is being transmitted laterally through my spine. Transverse shear is the enemy. We really want to avoid that. Okay? Just like we want to avoid too much rotation inside the spine, but we can use rotation in the macro sense to generate centrifugal force so we're lighter. Okay, so I'm approaching the chair. I'm going to use my eyes to see it. Right? I can see it. And therefore I can appraise its distance. I can use my hands to prepare the trajectory. Then when I'm sitting down, I'm already here. Now I can decide if I want to coast in, right, and face my friends across the table. If I want to get up now, I can already start to turn, right? And you can see the asymmetrical deployment of my legs. I'm getting my center of gravity closer to my feet. And already I can get up, right? So it's not like this, it's very impractical. My center of gravity is quite far from my feet here, right? And I have to use my hands to push. Now I'm in a bridge situation where I have to shove the counterweight of my upper body forward. And it's also impractical because I'm stuck in this symmetrical situation where I'm using both hands and both feet at the same time, and I can't locomote, right? That's the advantage of having legs and hands. We don't function like a car, right? We take one step and then the other, and actually this is the best all-terrain vehicle we have, right? When the car can't go over rocks, what do? We get out and walk. When the car can't go over snow, what do? We walk, right? So walking is really probably the best locomotive tool that's been evolved. Right? Take a look at the animal world. Do they have wheels? No. All right, so here we are. We're going to turn, right? Turn, and lean forward and push, and that's our exit. Hope that was useful for you, and see you again next time.